This week we're going to take a look at setting up sheets. Right now we have several views, but we want to now bring those views on a sheet. And this is how you can have this BIM model that is all one model. And now we're going to create views and put those views on different sheets. Okay, so let's go into level 1. And some of you may or may not have finished some of this. Hopefully you have the first assignment completed and you're working on the other ones as we move forward to create this model. One of the things we want to do is rename your views. When you bring your views into the sheet, the name of the view will be the name on the sheet will be this view name. And so we don't want level 1, we want first floor plan or something like that, right? So let's highlight here level 1, right click and pick rename. Another thing would be to click on it and then click on it a second time to get into the editing mode. But I kind of like to rename it by right clicking and picking rename. And so now I'm going to put my cap lock on and first floor plan. And so we'll go to the second, and then it does ask you if you'd like to rename corresponding views, and you want to say yes. And the corresponding views would be like the ceiling plans. So watch out for these ceiling plans. In fact, sometimes it's good to just click on that little minus sign so that you can't see them because they're the same name, right? So be careful that you're in the plans, floor plans, not the ceiling plans. Great. So now the second level, you don't even have to be in it. We're already still in the first level. So if you just highlight it and then right click and pick rename, the second level we can call roof plan. And we'll work with sites a little bit later. So we might want to pick yes. Would you like to rename the corresponding views? And yes, it will rename any other views that are kind of like seeing it. And then the 3D view, it's always a good idea to, first of all, it's always a good idea to duplicate this view. And the reason being that you want a 3D view that you can work with, and then you have other 3D views that you're going to create from that view. And you'll see this as we work on it a little bit later. For now, we're going to double click on the 3D view to go to it. Right click, and there's a whole conversation after we set up our sheets. I'll show you what the difference is between duplicating a view with just duplicate, or duplicate with detailing, or duplicate as a dependent. So what we want to do is duplicate with detailing. All of the text and the annotation will come over with it. So we're taking the 3D view and we're going to duplicate it. So we'll go to duplicate view and duplicate with detailing. See, it makes like a copy of it. So now we're going to rename the copy. We can right click and rename that copy perspective view, or maybe you just want to keep it as 3D view as well. Perspective view will on the sheet show that you have this perspective view, right? All right, so each one of these elevations needs to be renamed as well. So right click on east elevation, pick rename, and with your cap locks on, this can be called east elevation. So let's go ahead and do that for the other ones. So this is north elevation. We want to right click, rename north elevation, because when we bring it on the sheet, that's going to be the title. Right click, rename for south elevation. And these are all uppercase, guys, so that we keep that. Highlight it, west elevation, right click, rename. All right, so now we have all of our views that we're going to use renamed. We also may not have all of the title blocks loaded, and I'll put one in Canvas for you, or all of them for you guys to get, but I'm hoping that you have some of those. If you don't have them, go up to Insert. Let's just do this because I know that I have them, but I'll show you how to get it. Just like we did blocks, we're going to go to Insert and over to Load Autodesk Family, right there. And it's a category. So all of these different categories that we have, we're looking for title blocks. Title blocks is towards the bottom of the list. We're going to work with the 11 by 17 horizontal, but you can see that there are several other ones that we can use. So 11 by 17 horizontal, let's go ahead and load that one. So highlight it and pick load. And now that it's loaded, we'll be able to work with it. All right, so we have all of our views renamed. Let's go down to Sheets All right here. You're going to right click and pick New Sheet. You should see it right here, that new sheet that you just loaded, 11 by 17. Now, if you already have all of the families in your computer, in your system, you could pick load here and it'll bring you to the title blocks folder. But like I said, most of you didn't bring in all of the blocks, so go to Insert and use what we just did. Okay, so B11 by 17, pick OK. And there it is. You've got your sheet. And we know that, let's say this is our first floor plan. So down here, we can click on this A101 and then click on it again. And let's call this A-1. If we start it with A1, then the next one will be A2, A3, and we're creating sheets. And then also we want to name this first floor plan. Right, and there are other things that we can change as well. We're also going to, should we do that now? We can change here the way that this title block looks. I think that's a good idea. Before we start bringing images in, why not update this title block so that it doesn't say Autodesk, right? So this is a title block that's a family. It came into the drawing, and now we want to modify that family. Instead of opening it outside of this drawing, if you double click on it, it'll automatically open that file. So let's double click on the title block. And now what you're really looking at is you're inside the title block, and not inside your drawing, right? You can see the ribbon is completely changed. You have all these different things that you can do. But what we want to do is modify this title block and save it as your own. So here we're going to click on Autodesk and, delete that out. Maybe we don't even want this, link or this line in here. And then you can put your own graphics in there if you'd like, as you can reopen it and work with it. But these are all fields, so I would just leave everything else in here. At this point, there are a lot of different other things you can do. You can insert an image into it. So if you wanted to import an image, we're not at that point yet. We're just going to stick with the basics. So what we want to do with this is we want to save it. We're going to save it as a different name because this is our new sheet that we like, that we want to use. So this is where you can put your own style to it. But like I said, we're going to keep this basic at first. So we want to save it because we don't want to save the original one. We want to save it as a different family. If we saved it over the original one, then the original Autodesk, 11 by 17 will take on your modifications. So it's just a good idea to go up to File and down to Save As and over to Family. Now you can navigate to whatever folder you'd like to use to put this new family in. And just remember where you put it. It's not recommended to put it in the title blocks folder because it's part of the system. So you might have your own folder that's called My Title Blocks. So remember where you put it so that you can browse over to it to get it if you need to. It's an RFA. RFAs are the family extensions. So I'm just going to take out the letter B and I'm going to say My Title Block. My Title Block. 11 by 17 horizontal. My Title Block, 11 by 17 horizontal. Let's go ahead and pick Save. Okay, so we saved it, and that's what we have, My Title Block up the top. And now we want to load it into the project and close it. So sometimes you just want to load it in there, but you want to keep it open. But we want to load it into the project and close it because we already saved it. We saved it as another name. I'm just going to go ahead and pick that. Right. So it sometimes it'll give you a warning because we're not in the Sheets view, but it's okay. You can bypass this warning if you get it because it's just saying that it can't create the element in this view, and because we're in a view, you can go ahead and close out of that. But when we go to Sheets and we right click and we pick New Sheet, your new one should be right there. It's loaded. It's here. Let's go ahead and pick OK. And now there's your new one that we just created right there. What we will probably want to do is click on the little plus sign right there. And because we created a new one, you notice that it's A2, but we don't need the first one. I know we use the default one for that. So we're just going to click on that first one, A1, and delete. Right. So we deleted the first title block because it was the original one. We created our own here. So we're going to go through that renaming system again here. We're going to click on and say that this is A1 and this is our new one. We decided to do that. First floor plan. And now you can go ahead and, give this the owner's name and the project name, whatever you want to call it. And now we have our first sheet that's modified. So let me just go through what we just did. We started with the sheet that was the default from Autodesk, but we didn't want to see the Autodesk in there. So we double clicked on it in order to open it up and modify it. Now I only saved it as a different sheet and got rid of the other one because I wanted to maintain the original Autodesk one, 11 by 17. If you wanted to save it right over it, that would be okay too. So if you end up with two sheets, you can get rid of the other one that had the Autodesk on it, and you end up with one sheet, which is A1 first floor plan. So now we're ready. We only have one sheet right here, the one that we're in. We're going to escape out of whatever we have going on there because we had it all highlighted. And we're going to, while we're in the sheet, we're going to hold your left mouse button down on the first floor plan, drag it over to your sheet and let go. Now, it might not look like anything's there, but if you click, you'll see that it's there. If you roll your wheel back, you'll see that we have this huge view. And the reason we have this huge view is that the elevation markers right here are in this view. And these viewports, see how they're called viewports? Sort of like AutoCAD has a viewport, are reading everything that's in there. So what we want to do in this case is double click. So roll the wheel back. You've got this big box. This is the hard part, right? We want to double click inside that box. You see how everything is grayed out except for the plan? So we're really still in the sheet, but we're accessing the view by double clicking. You see how the only thing I can get to is the view itself. And we want to be able to turn off these elevation markers to bring the view around just the drawing. So we're going to go ahead and click on a piece of this elevation marker, right click, and say hide in view, and then category. The whole category of those elevation markers, we're going to hide in view category. See how it hides all those elevations? So I'm adding to this because I show it in the second sheet, but in this first sheet, if your plan is bigger than the sheet and you want to change the scale, and change the scale here. See how I can change the scale? I can change it to a 1/16 of an inch. Depends on your project. An 1/8 of an inch works well for what the size of mine is. And so I'm going to leave it. And now when I double click over here in space, you see how I'm back to selecting my view. And you see how when you put your pointer over here closer to your floor plan, it's kind of like cropping it to the floor plan. That's the tough part right there, guys. When I click on that floor plan and I hold my left mouse button down on it, you see how I can like move it around to wherever I want to put it? So I double clicked inside of it to get into the view so I could turn off those elevation markers. I just selected them, right click, hide in view category in order to turn those off. And now I can double click out in space here to bring me back to the sheet. And you can tell you're in the sheet when you can highlight the sheet. See that? It's not grayed out. All right, this is another kind of tricky part. So when you have the view selected, you should see that the title block has these little blue, the title of the drawing down here has these blue grips. You can hold your left mouse button down on the end of this one and bring it over to however long you want it. Now you have to click off that view in order to pick up this title. So click on it and hold your left mouse button on it and bring it over to the sheet and let go. See that? See the couple things to, kind of get used to. When you click on the view and you hold your left mouse button down and drag it around, you see how it takes the title with it. And it gives you an opportunity to control the length of this line that's underneath the view. Once you click off of the view, this viewport that's inside the title block, you can click on this title, drawing title, and hold your left mouse button down and drag that around independently to put it wherever you want it. Okay, so that is the process. That is the process that we're going through to create our sheets and put our titles on it. As you can imagine, if I double click on this title, I can change the family of that as well. But I'll leave that alone for now. Okay, so let's create a second sheet now that we have the first one. I'm going to click on Sheets, right click, and pick New Sheet. I'm still going to use my title block. If you decided early on to save it over that other B1117, it'll still default back to that as well. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. And now look, I have another sheet. It's called A2. And let's just say that this one is going to be my roof plan. Right there. Now, when we bring the roof plan in, we're going to have to modify it a little bit in the same way, but also because I remember in our roof plan, we were seeing all of the first plan lines. So let's do it. We're in the roof plan. We just renamed it roof plan. You can see it down there. We can drag the roof plan over, let go, roll the wheel back, click. You can kind of position it if you'd like. You can use arrow keys. Use arrow keys to position it. Oh, there are a couple of things I need to talk to you about that I didn't in the first view. If your drawing is huge, you can change the scale as well. So we'll do that with this one. First thing, double click, and we're in the sheet. You can see the sheet, but we double click to get into the view. We're going to click on a part of this elevation marker, right click, hide in view, category. There's that. Plus, I can see my first floor plan. I don't want to see the first floor plan. So I'm going to go over to properties over here under underlay. Underlay, the range base level for underlay is first floor plan. But if I drop this list down and pick none for the range base and I pick apply, you see how the first floor plan won't be shown. We needed the underlay in order for us to select the walls to know where the roof was going to be, right? But this one, we just want the roof plan. And here, because mine was small enough to fit on 11 by 17, this really works. But in order for us to change it, once you're inside the view, you can go down to an 1/8 inch and save it and control it. Maybe you need something bigger because your project's smaller. So this is where you can change the scale inside the view. You could have went right back over to the view to change it as well. So it was good for me with an 1/8 inch, but maybe if your drawing is huge, some of you decided to make bigger drawings, you might come to 3/32 or a 1/16 of an inch to use that scale. So it's completely up to you on what scale works for your drawing. I might try to get that into that first floor plan so that you can know about it. All right, same process. Double click, out in space, right? Click on the view. When you click on the view, you're going to have this little circular grip there. Drag it back to whatever length you want it. Click off of it so that the view is not selected, and now select that title. Hold your left mouse button down on it and drag it over to where you want it on the sheet. Those are the steps, guys. You can see that I'm in the sheet, and it does tell you the scale right there. Those are the first two sheets. We have the floor plan and the roof plan. And so now let's create another sheet. We're going to click on Sheets, right-click, New Sheet. Another new sheet here will be for our elevations. Depending on the scale of your elevations, like I said, you can change the scale as well. You can drag the east elevation here, take a look, see if the scale is good. I'm going to go ahead and click on right there. Maybe I want to put the east and the west together, so I'll drag it over here, right there. And like I said, you can use the arrow keys to move it over to wherever you'd like to put it. And just like the first couple of views, you're going to be able to double click inside of the view to modify it. Here, I want to click on this elevation line, and then there's this little circle that's to the right of the words and close to this elevation marker. If you hold your left mouse button down there and drag it over, you see how it brings both of these elevation lines over. You do the same thing with the other side so that it's not so far out. There are other ways of doing this, but it's a good way to kind of like pull in the graphics. Now double click out in space and you have those, lined up. Same thing here. Oh, well, like we did before, you might want to, do what we did before. Click off, bring this over. I don't think do it all of them. But because I think you'll get used to, the plan of how to work on it. Double click, get into and click on that elevation line, drag this over, kind of line it up right there. Same thing here. Maybe I think it looks kind of good over there, right? And double click out into the sheet. You can still modify this a little bit. Yours might not. You might need another sheet if you have big elevations. Some of you already went to work on a second floor, so you can just put one. If you want, you can just put one view on it. If you look for those light blue lines that help you to kind of like line up the graphics right there. Maybe I want to put this up a little more. It's up to you. There it is. So now it's unnamed because it's a new sheet. So I'm going to call these elevations. Or you could put east and west elevations, but sometimes we just say elevations or building elevations. Okay. So then you want to create another sheet. This is the same method. Right click on sheets, new sheet, pick OK. It's A4. We're going to continue with the elevations. So I'm just going to pull over here the north elevation and pull the south elevation and clean those up as well, just like we did. Just like we did in the other elevations, and rename it as well. So you go through all of that to set up this sheet like we did the other sheet. And then the last view we're going to use for the perspective view. So we can go to Sheets, right-click, New Sheet, right there, My New Sheet, and pull in this 3D view right here. I like to roll my wheel back, but if you click first, you'll be able to see where it's at. Now, in this one, if you double-click inside the 3D view through the sheet, you can orbit around to get to what you consider to be the best view. Hold your shift key, the wheel of the mouse, like we have been. I mean, it's really a way of positioning it the way that you'd like it to be seen, and then you can also turn off these like planes that are showing these lines just by clicking on it. Right click, go to hide in view category. There it goes. Double click out in space. Maybe I want to use my arrow keys to come up a little bit more on this one and over. however you want to set it up. I'm going to drag this, line over a little bit. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one, didn't I? I did. I grabbed the 3D view one. So I can just select this one and delete it. Go over here, grab the perspective view. You probably already saw, why is she getting the perspective view or the 3D view when we created the perspective view? And I noticed it because of the title block, or the title of it was still 3D. So you can see that I just erased it and came over here, and now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to hide the category. I'm going to, rotate around to what I think is kind of the best view for it, and then double click out space. Same thing here. Click on the image, change your, your size of this line. Click off the image. Well, honestly, you could use your arrow keys to, move it around, and then click off of it. Click on the title and drag that over, and now I've got the perspective view, title over here, and you can rename that one as well. All right, so here it is. We've got these sheets now. We have 5 of them. You go ahead and rename them so that they're going to be first floor plan, roof plan, elevations. The 4th one will be also elevations, right? And then this one will be perspective view, or whatever you'd like to call it. They shouldn't be unnamed, and they should be like A1, A2, A3. You can always individually change these even after, if you've created them already as 101, 102. So you can, you have opportunities there. All right. Well, that's what I wanted to show you in this week's information. And just as a recap, you can double click on your view and change your scale here. Or, like I said, sometimes I like the idea of coming into the sheet to double click inside the view and change your scale here so you can see how it fits on the sheet. Double click out here. I'm going to create a second video for your information on what the difference is between duplicating views here for your information, because we're going to be using each one of those as we move forward. Please keep in touch with me if you need anything, have any questions. These are the sheets that we're going to set up for this week's assignment.